I lost friends out here. I lost family members due to gun violence. And you got to do something about it. Somebody got to do something about it or take a stand, because there's too many kids losing their lives out here.
Gun violence is a serious issue in our community. We decided to talk to 3 key individuals: a high school principal, a borough president, and a member of city council, in order to better understand the problem and what we can do as young people to make a difference.
This past year, there was an increase of gun violence, no question, particularly in Brooklyn's most economically challenged areas.
Who's pulling the trigger and why? That's what we have to get to. And violence in America is often supported by the larger system.
And since being a principal of boys and girls, we've lost 2 what I would call current students to gun violence, and probably at least 10 students who were former students, and that's since last year.
And I think that the root cause of it is hopelessness. When people are put in an economic situation where they can't find jobs and not given quality education, when the whole environment around them, or they live in an economically oppressive condition.
Young people, too many of them seem to have a thirst for violence. I mean, they're sort of like oversaturated with it, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on Facebook, or YouTube. I've had students that told me that they wake up in the morning and they look for the latest violent acts on YouTube.
I'm on it every day, and is affecting and influencing us young people to use guns too.
Name me a time where you having a gun saved your life. Well, if I didn't have this gun, I'd be dead now. No, most of the people who do have guns are dead. And the guns will only lead you to death or jail, because it's not a protection. You know, it's a false sense of security.
I tell you, when I was growing up, we didn't know from guns. The only guns I had, a Hopalong Cassidy gun, because it was cowboys and Indians.
I grew up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan in the Lillian Wall projects. We used to have fist fights. It wasn't nothing like it is now. I think we had a greater value of life.
You can't really trust nobody nowadays. People are your friends. They act like your friends. They're not even your friends. They'll take your life. You gotta watch where you go, watch what you're doing. Always be 10 steps ahead of what you do out here, because, you know, some people just go out to have fun and they wind up getting killed for no reason.
When I grew up, there was a karate expert named Bruce Lee. So every time I watched a Bruce Lee movie, I would come out of the movie theater practicing karate moves that I definitely wasn't trained to have. I think nowadays, when you look at, you very rarely see a movie where there's a gun that goes pop, pop. You know, now it's like hundreds of rounds being fired.
It's like watching cartoons, like you want to be your favorite superhero. You know, it's like a role model thing, but now, you know, this is not a good look for like the young ones out here, because as they grow up, then they want to, you know, oh, I want to grow up to be this, a drug dealer, a gangster, you know, so now, or that involved guns, you know, so it's not a good look.
Why do I think it's easy to get guns in our community? Because I don't think the police really care. I don't think the government really cares. I think that they, to some extent, want us to be in the predicament that we're in, because how could 8-year-olds find guns and law enforcement can't? How could 10, 15-year-olds find drugs and law enforcement can't?
What has changed, obviously, is a culture of violence, the making violence sexy and attractive. Songs that you hear on rap or whatever sometimes have a horrible message, not a positive message, but some songs have a horrible message. Too many of our young people look at all that garbage bling that some of the heroes wear. When it's garbage, it's garbage. But in their heads, they equate bling with self-respect, that they made it in life. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But this is a challenge that teachers face, the parents face, church and synagogue leaders face, and politicians face. How do we resolve it?
I say, like, to all these gangbangers, whatever nation, clique you come from. You know what I'm saying? It's time to build for your community in a positive way. Let's teach our kids how to read and write. Let's show them art. Let's bring art back. You know what I'm saying? Fill them with music, art festivals, sculptures. Bring them back to the youth that we grew up in, where children learn responsibility and respect to be successful citizens in this life, not a basic statistic what the government pictures us as.
We have to find out what the root causes are and crack down and make it very clear to young people that when they start a life of antisocial life, this government has to begin monitoring them and following their life, red flagging them to help bring them, to help save them from themselves and make them a productive member of society.
As far as I know, the only way is through education. That's the most powerful weapon to combat another powerful weapon, because they're both weapons. A gun is a weapon and education is a weapon. But one weapon can help make you better and the other one can help make you worse or kill you. I haven't seen too many people die from having a quality education.
We have to work on the minds of young people to understand, to say to them that every time they buy a gun, they're making someone else rich, you understand? And they're putting their lives in jeopardy.
The bottom line, manhood is about the mind. Men solve conflicts with their mind. And they don't have to feel that they have to kick behind all the time or get violent. And sometimes where intelligence ends, violence begins. We need to get more intelligent.
I've been directly affected by gun violence. I think gun violence in the community is a big issue that needs to be resolved. And a lot of these people who are living in the streets are a lot of young youth, and our parents need to step up and do their things. That prevents me from having a good community and raising my kids in a good community.